So we got a bunch of different weather headlines to talk about over the next several days. Let's first talk about just this evening. We have a number of high school football games going on. A lot of those kickoff times have been pushed back to 8 p.m. to accommodate for this intense heat and humidity. We actually did set our tied a record high temperature today at Augusta, got up to 99 degrees. Feel like temperatures across the area still over 100 and likely will stay at least into the 90s during game time. So it is going to be dangerous for those athletes at times, especially for the first half. And it doesn't look like the heat's going anywhere anytime soon, at least not through the weekend. We're going to stay with near record high temperatures Saturday afternoon. By Sunday, we're still in the mid 90s, so not much relief there. But the thing that will be a little bit better this weekend is that we do have a better opportunity to see some rainfall. So this is going to bring us a little bit better opportunity to see some showers and storms. But with these storms passing through this weekend, there is going to be a low severe weather risk, so we're going to have to keep an eye on that. Main concern is going to be damaging straight line winds, and Sunday is definitely your best bet to see rain this weekend. Cannot rule out isolated storms Saturday, but just expecting a much better opportunity, more widespread rainfall Sunday afternoon into Sunday night. And as this heavy rain does start to pick up with thunderstorms, not only through the weekend, but later next week, we are going to bring back a low flash flood risk. So all our flood prone areas, we've been relatively dry the last week or so. Make sure you're keeping those storm drains clear, gutters cleaned out. Just make sure you have a way to kind of move that water efficiently over the next couple of days and into next week especially. Now we do have heat alerts in effect. We do have heat advisory in effect through 8 p.m. this evening for the Western CSRA, but these are going to stay in effect all the way through the weekend. So Saturday, Sunday, they're still going to stick with these heat advisories in the western portions of the CSRA for heat indices anywhere from 105 to 110. So here's the way our peak heat index is kind of shaping up across the area through the weekend, up to 110 tomorrow afternoon. So as hot as today, if not even a little bit hotter. Sunday still over 100 on the heat index, but by next week it does start to drop off a little bit. So that's going to be a little pattern flip that heads our way. Cooler highs, higher rain chances, basically the opposite of what we've seen so far this week. And high temperatures tomorrow, remember, will be close to 100 across the entire CSRA. These are actual temperatures. Now, when you factor in the humidity, that's when we're talking about feel like temperatures close to 110 tomorrow afternoon. Here's our severe weather outlook. So we're not expecting necessarily a ton of severe storms, but any storm that does pop up Saturday or Sunday just has that low chance of briefly producing a strong wind gust, maybe some hail, heavy rain, lightning. So not expecting a tornado risk, but just strong wind, hail threat. There's going to be some pretty strong updrafts in these storms, and what goes up must come down. So that we're just going to have to monitor that risk with storms both days this weekend. And remember, Sunday is definitely your better opportunity to see rainfall through the weekend. Let's take a look at it. So through this evening, no rain in our forecast this evening for high school football games, just really focusing on the intense heat. Tomorrow morning, we're going to wake up dry, mostly clear skies. Temps are going to be in the 70s. Temps will heat up very quickly, and we'll likely see those highs in the upper 90s tomorrow afternoon. But you can see there is going to be a little bit better opportunity to see some thunderstorms develop. Not necessarily guaranteed for everybody, but they're just going to be kind of bubbling up across the area through the afternoon and early evening hours Saturday. So make sure you are keeping an eye to the sky. Sunday. Dry in the morning, but anytime after lunchtime, we're going to have at least scattered to most likely even numerous showers and thunderstorms bubbling up across the area. Those will stay likely through Sunday evening, even portions of Sunday night, and then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday next week are looking very wet across the area. Take a look at what our expected rainfall is shaping up to be heading into early next week. So once we get into Monday, Tuesday, everybody's pretty much guaranteed to see rain at some point during the day, Monday, Tuesday, and then Wednesday, that's when it starts to get a little bit interesting. That's when we're going to have to keep a close eye on what happens with Invest 93L. So this is a disturbance in the Western Caribbean Sea. This is going to continue moving north. As it continues moving north this weekend, likely will become a tropical depression, and then further development potentially into a tropical storm could be possible heading into early next week. What I wanted to show you is our two long-range models. So there is some discrepancy about where exactly this storm is going to be, where it's going to go, but the GFS model didn't even really show the storm developing into anything yesterday. So I would say this up front, the European model has been the most consistent and has been the one that's kind of been showing this, and it hasn't really moved where it thinks it's going. The GFS model just today started to show this storm developing into a tropical storm, and it's kind of been shifting west and east. So I would say there's less weight given to the GFS model right now because the European has just been way more consistent. And we're hoping that the European model is what ends up verifying for us here locally, because the further east this path, the further east that this storm does take, the further east that the path of this storm does take, will bring minimal impacts to us here locally. We're still expecting some rain, but the further east this storm goes, the further away it gets from us, and we're just left in a spot to where we should just get a good steady northeast flow helping to bring in some slightly drier air for us. Now with the GFS model, that's showing a little bit stronger storm, and it's showing that landfall could be a little bit further west along that Florida Gulf Coast. So if that verifies, if the center of this system stays west of us, then that puts us in that eastern quadrant to where we'll have a flood risk, we'll also have a severe weather threat. So the GFS model would just definitely be worse for us, but I would say, as I mentioned earlier, there's less weight given to the GFS right now because it didn't even think this storm was going to materialize yesterday. So the European model has definitely been way more consistent, and I think what bears kind of the most confidence in the forecast moving forward next week. So this is a time stamp from next Wednesday. So this is still close to a week out. We know how these tropical systems go. It's going to change a lot, folks. So just make sure you are staying updated on the forecast through the weekend, early next week, because the system hasn't even formed into a named system just yet. So models are really struggling to kind of pinpoint exactly where it is, where it's going to go, and how it's going to develop. So just make sure you are staying up to date on the forecast all the way through the weekend. I'll give you a quick look at the 7-day forecast just to kind of highlight, if I can get this thing to work. It's always so finicky over here. All right, here we go. Let's see if this will work. Maybe it froze. Nope. All right, try again. 3, 2, 1. Right there. There's our 7-day forecast. So for the weekend, remember, a few isolated thunderstorms possible Saturday afternoon. I imagine the heat is what's going to get you rather than the storm Saturday. Sunday, definitely a good opportunity to see a passing shower or thunderstorm anytime after the lunch hour. And then next week, with high rain chances, a lot of cloud cover, that's going to help keep our high temperatures in the 80s Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday next week. And by next Friday, by this time next week, we actually are expecting a cold front to show up, which should help lower our humidity, high temperatures, and that's why you're seeing that our morning temps waking up next Friday morning should be down to the 60s. So keep your fingers crossed. We're hoping that front makes it to us, because that front will also help kind of push away that tropical storm away from us next week. So a lot to talk about in the forecast today. Remember, you can always go rewatch this on our live streaming platforms. It's free to download and watch there, and also on our weather app. And make sure you do have our weather app downloaded. Stay on top of what this tropical system is going to do in the next week. Hopefully you have a great Friday evening and weekend. We'll see you later tonight on News 12 at 11.